Welcome to the Doctor's Call. We have it every Tuesday at noon Eastern Time. This is Andrea from Michigan. Typically we have Dr. Kurt on here as our professional in-house, but today he's out in the jungle somewhere. So we have DrKim Shunkwiler with us today, who is a 30-year veteran of being a professional medical, just like Dr. Kurt is, and has a very successful chiropractic practice, and works with people on their health and supplies them with knowledge and supplements, just like Dr. Kurt does. So welcome to the call, Dr. Kim.
Well, thank you, Andrea. It's very nice to be here. I don't do anything just like Dr. Kurt does. We try to, I try not to emulate too much, because he would get kind of upset if I stole his stuff. But and I'm kidding. But I'm here.
Well, we're glad you're here today. And I just want to kind of do a disclaimer on my part. We're going to have just a conversation today about a topic that is become very popular, and there's a good reason for that. It's about a 60-year-old lie, basically. And my disclaimer is that, typically when I learn something new, I just go out and research crap out of it. And so I did, and I know a little bit to be dangerous. But Dr. Kim's here as our professional, so he can keep me under control. But we're going to discuss something that you may have seen on social media or out there, that's being pretty predominant right now, which is ketosis. And a lot of people have confusion about it, or you may see it portrayed as keto lifestyle. So Dr. Kim, could you just kind of go into what is ketosis versus, what most people do?
Sure. Well, basically, when you're in ketosis, that means you're burning fat for energy. You've transformed your body into a fat-burning machine, as opposed to burning carbohydrates or the sugar supplied by carbohydrates, glucose, for energy. Not that fat doesn't turn into glucose, but it does it much more efficiently. I think it's every gram of fat, there's 9 calories for every gram of protein or carbohydrates. There's 4. So you're producing much more energy out of a gram of fat than you are out of protein or carbohydrate. So how it came, when I first heard about it, this was years ago. Many years ago. I started doing some research, and of course I had access to a lot of professionals that were really high on the ketogenic diet. You're proclaiming a lot of health benefits. Primarily, when you turn your body into a fat-burning machine, you're burning your own fat, and of course, there's a big proponent for weight loss. But I tend to think about things physiologically, how our bodies were developed. What are we supposed to eat? And I started thinking about, what were our ancestors like when our digestive systems were developing many, many, many years ago? And what did they eat? How did we develop our digestive systems to handle the foods that were available at the time? And if you think about it, when our ancestors were about, what did they eat? Did they eat Wonder Bread? I don't think so. They probably didn't eat any grains, because in order for us to process grains, we have to process, to eat grains and make them into fuel, we have to process that grain. We have to turn wheat into flour. You don't see too many people just eating raw wheat berries for sustenance. So our ancestors probably ate meat. They ate fat, and probably fat to a big degree. Whenever they go to a site where our ancestors lived, they start doing some archaeological digging. They find that there's a lot of bones, and all the bones are opened up to get at the bone marrow, which is, high fat content.
Oh,
And
and packed full of nutrients too.
sure, absolutely. So if they ate any carbohydrates, it probably would have been in the form of roots, maybe berries, fruit maybe, but back then the fruit was a lot different than it is today. We've done a lot to increase artificially the sugar content of fruit over the years. Because why? Because people love sweet tasting things. We've become addicted to, fruit that's high in sugar. So apples, oranges, everything is bred to be more full of sugar.
Right. And,
So,
oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, you mentioned like when you learned about, several years ago, you learned about this. I actually learned about it about 3 years ago, almost exactly 3 years ago. And I was like, what? The first couple of videos I saw on it was someone who is a trainer in ketosis, and I was like blown away by her information. So I went out and started looking, and I happened to discover this short little video, which I'm going to play for us right now. But basically it explains the whole big fat lie that's been going on for 60 years in regards to the fat causes cholesterol, which builds up in the body and causes heart disease. So I just want to play this real quick so people have just a short little background video about this.
You could pack all of human history into 1 year. We've only been farming and eating grain since about yesterday, which is when we became shorter and fatter. We only started consuming processed vegetable oils about 10 minutes ago, which is when heart disease became our #1 killer. So after examining all this human history, the experts came to the obvious conclusion. We need to eat a lot more of these. And so they convinced us that human health depends on foods we didn't eat for more than 99% of our entire existence. How did this happen? In the 1950s, a biochemist named Ansel Keys published a study that compared heart disease and fat consumption in a half dozen countries. The more fat, the more heart disease. The trend line was unmistakable. Just one little problem. Keys left out countries where people eat a lot of fat but have very little heart disease, like Holland and Norway. He also left out countries where people don't eat much fat but do have a lot of heart disease, like Chile. In fact, Keys had reliable data from 22 countries, and the results were all over the place. But you can't make a big splash in the scientific community with a trend line that looks like this. So Keys did what any dedicated researcher would do. He threw out the data that didn't fit and published his results. His punishment for this bit of scientific chicanery was to get his picture on the cover of Time magazine. Keys became known as the father of the lipid hypothesis, which says that eating saturated fat raises the cholesterol in your blood, and high cholesterol in your blood clogs your arteries and causes heart disease.
The hypothesis that when you eat high fat, that produces high cholesterol, and that cholesterol produces heart disease is wrong in every one of those links.
This whole idea that dietary fat causes cholesterol problems is sort of a myth. The whole idea that cholesterol problems lead to heart disease is a myth.
The theory is completely and totally wrong. It was a theory that was made out of whole cloth and then pushed. The term artery clogging saturated fat, it's as though it's all one word.
It's become part of the zeitgeist. Everybody knows saturated fat is bad for you, but when you get back and you start looking at the medical literature and you root back through to find out where this whole idea came from, it's bogus.
So when I first saw that video and a few more that I watched, I was really kind of ticked off because, and Dr. Kurt and I've talked about this before, where we've got the food pyramid upside down from the 60s, right? And, as I did this research, it kind of ticked me off that we had this lie perpetuated to us out here in society, and the food industry jumped on it, and medical community jumped on it, big pharma jumped on it, and I think my personal opinion is that all of these, all these women's magazines for the last, 40 years, 30 years are talking about yo-yo dieting, and the hottest topic on every magazine is how to lose 30 pounds, or she lost 100 pounds in 6 months, or, all of this. And what have they told us over the last 20, 25 years? Eat salad, eat salad, eat salad. So what do you think about that, Dr. Kim?
Well, I'm reminded about, this goes back with me about, over 25 years ago, when I first was exposed to this. I wanted to prove it to myself. So I went and had some blood work done, had my cholesterol measured. I weighed myself. And for the next 30 days, I ate nothing but basically meat, eggs, and cheese.
Mm-hmm.
And 30 days later, I went and had my blood work done again. Now, in that 30 days, I'd lost about 15 pounds. And my HDL went up. My LDL went down, and I cut my triglycerides in half in 30 days.
How about that?
So, yeah. So I kind of surmised, being the brilliant person that I am, that this was probably not the thing they were talking about as far as the people saying it was bad for you. It turned out to be very, very good. And I felt better. I had more energy. I was thinking clearer. All those neat things that happen when you get your body into ketosis, I experienced. So and it's funny that they're talking about some of the things that I talk about as far as how our bodies are supposed to function, what we're really supposed to eat. I don't think we were made to eat all the sugar and the carbohydrates that we eat. And as a result, we're a sick society. We're a sick world with a lot of sick people living on lots of carbohydrates. So I counsel my patients all the time about the evils of carbohydrates and trying to get them to cut back. God, people come. You've seen it. You go to the store. It's really frightening. I don't go to the store a lot because my wife won't let me in them too much. But I have a company. I hate it. But you'll see people that are grossly overweight, and you look at their shopping cart, and what's in their shopping cart? Mountain Dew, donuts, instant breakfast. Oh God, it's all processed foods and primarily carbohydrates, sugar, and they wonder why they're sick.
Right.
I'm a veteran. I go to the VA. It breaks my heart to see my brothers there in walkers
Mm-hmm.
or in wheelchairs. Last time I went, there was a guy in front of me, obviously diabetic, overweight. I think he had one lower part of his leg removed. And on the back of his wheelchair, there was two, he had designed holders. He had two bottles, half-gallon bottles, or what do they call them, liter bottles, 2-liter bottles of Mountain Dew.
Oh, jeez.
And
yeah, when I go to the grocery store, it's the same way. And plus, I live in a college town, and so we've got young college students shopping in the major store here, and you just look in their carts and shake your head and go, oh my God.
Yeah, well, it's frightening. It really is frightening because we're, as doctors are creating their own business, by not counseling people better on what's good to eat,
right,
what they shouldn't eat. So it's a very, very difficult thing. We're raised. I remember as a kid, we didn't know any better. I remember my folks were from a little mining town in southeastern Ohio, lived through Depression. It wasn't unusual to have bread and milk for breakfast. White bread. And I remember just dumping teaspoons of sugar on it and soaking it in milk. I mean, my God.
Oh, yeah. We used to take white bread.
I'd probably be a lot taller. I'd probably be a lot taller today if it wasn't for things like that. And I'm not kidding.
We used to take white bread, smother it with butter, and dump sugar on top and eat it.
Yeah, we did that. Yeah, done that. So,
But, Dr. Kurt always likes to give an analogy when he talks. And so I have an analogy for this, burning fat for fuel rather than carbs or sugar for fuel. And I'm going to ask you to kind of explain what carbs means, because a lot of people really don't understand. They hear the term, but some people don't understand what carbs are. But here's my analogy for that. Think of a campfire. And let's say the twigs are like carbs or sugar, logs are like protein, and fats are like coal. So, when you're building this campfire and you're throwing the twigs in, the energy gets burned up fast. The little twig gets burned up fast, and then your fire goes out, right? Well, that's kind of like burning carbs in that, we'll stuff some carbs in us, and within just an hour or so, we're having a crash, and then we're craving more carbs, right? So we're just kind of like that campfire. And then we have protein, and that burns a little stronger, a little longer than the twigs did or the carbs did. And then you have coal. So burning fat in the body is kind of like coal. You have this slow smoldering heat process going on all the time, and it's burnt using your body fat to burn for energy. So Dr. Kim, could you just kind of do a short synopsis of what carbs are and how
that was a pretty good analogy. That makes a lot of sense, and I that's a great question too, because I remember I didn't really know exactly what carbs were at one point, and wasn't sure. This was when the Atkins diet first came out 30-some years ago. But basically, if it's not fat, if it's not protein, it's carbohydrate. And carbohydrates are going to come from grains primarily in our diet. We see a lot of stuff made from flour. And it doesn't matter if it's whole grain or what. It's going to have the same effect on you when you eat it. The fruit that's bred these days is full of sugar. Sugar is carbohydrate. So those things turn to, even bread turns to sugar it's broken down to sugar almost immediately in the mouth with the amylase in the saliva. And you'll get an immediate spike in blood sugar that, like you said, it will go down, and an hour or so later you're hungry again, and you start craving more carbohydrates, and the body wants to feel good, not bad. So you'll eat more carbohydrates, and an hour or two later you're looking for something to eat, and you'll pop a piece of candy or something like that, which is pure sugar, and you'll get a little boost, and you get this yo-yo thing going. Whereas you get your body into burning fat, the thing that I notice is that all of a sudden I don't have that hunger anymore. I don't have those pangs of I got to eat something. Sometimes I have to remind myself that maybe I should eat something, because I'm still burning the fat for energy, and it's smoldering, and I'm going much longer without replenishing the energy in my body, because I'm living off that stored energy, and God only knows I got enough of it. So that's a simple way of thinking about carbohydrates. I tell my patients if it's white, it's not right, because most of the stuff is flour based and white.
Well, and
you gotta really avoid that.
Not only that, but like Dr. Kurt and I just did 2 weeks worth of information on Alzheimer's, and we were discussing this a little bit. And in those calls, even potatoes and rice and carrots and a lot of vegetables, they just turn to sugar in your body. So
corn, peas, and carrots are the biggest culprits.
Okay,
they're the highest in sugar. Yep, and of course, I love peas; they taste great. I love corn, because that's all sugar, And
right.
So and they've been bred to be much more sugar content than they were, many years ago.
And you hit on the appetite suppression, and basically 3 things we can say, in regards to the effect it will have on you is it curbs your appetite because you're burning fat. It curbs your appetite because your fuel source is in your own body. So now
Right.
you're burning fat, your own body fat, and it's readily there. It's available. It's like you have your furnace going and it's burning up your fat. It kills sugar craving. We've talked on the doctor's call about us all being addicted to sugars. And it basically kills the sugar craving in you. You don't crave sugar when you're in a fat burning mode. And it creates a feeling of fullness. So you're eating less, but you're eating foods that have higher burnt fuel content than carbs do, will last longer. And so it has all these great effects on the body. Besides, if you go do the research, you'll see that it's great for the big C, it's great for polycystic ovarian disease, it's great for epilepsy, it's great for brain function, dementia, Alzheimer's, and I would assume there's a great benefit for diabetics. They have a hard time working through what to eat. Diabetics do, I think. So could you kind of address that, Dr. Kim?
Yeah, diabetics on a ketogenic diet, and there's several benefits. The first thing is that you tend to lose weight on a ketogenic diet, and most diabetics are overweight.
Mm-hmm.
And it affects the insulin sensitivity when you're on a ketogenic diet, so you don't have to produce as much insulin. So you can better utilize the insulin that if you're type 2 diabetic that you do produce, and that's a benefit. So it's a little bit controversial because people hang on to especially things like the American Dietetic Association. I think that it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. They don't want to go to business. I'm getting cynical in my old age, but they warn people against it. But I can't for the life of me, I can't find anything that would be negative for a person being on a ketogenic diet.
Right, and
it's the way we were supposed to eat. You do better. You heal faster. There's so many benefits. I'm sitting here at we're getting around lunchtime here, and I have no hunger. What I had today for breakfast, I had my Sizzle coffee with a tablespoon of butter and some MCT oil blended in it.
yum.
And yeah, it was awesome. Tastes like a latte, and that will keep me going till mid-afternoon. Yeah.
Right. And
that's it.
another big lie out there is that, if you don't eat 6 times a day, these small meals, you're going to screw up your metabolism. And, and now all the information coming out is that a little bit of intermittent fasting actually raises or boosts your immune system immensely. And myself.
That goes back to our basic physiology. But what did our ancestors sit down 3 times a day or 6 times a day for a meal? I don't think so. I don't think they had dinner tables back then.
Right.
What they did is when they were able to kill an animal, they ate. When they were able to dig up a root, they ate. And they might go a day or 2 before they were able to do that. So a lot of the things that we accept as being from the experts is basically nonsense.
Right. And we're kind of coming to the end of the half hour here. I want to say, what's this got to do with Sizzle, right? What's this got to do with what we normally do on the doctor's call? Well, we're talking about health, and we're talking about health issues. And I just wanted to share that, and I believe Dr. Kim is doing it too. I just recently ordered the Inner Chai product from Sizzle. Sizzle is an international company that manufactures fabulous, effective products, and Dr. Kim and myself use these products along with many other people. And somebody posted on their social media page that they started taking it and lost 15 pounds. Well, I have been connected with Sizzle for about 18 months now, and I went, wait a minute. I never heard anything about taking Inner Chai being connected with weight loss. And so I looked into that. I asked Dr. Kurt about it, and I went ahead and ordered it. And I've been taking it almost a month now. And like I was talking to Dr. Kim earlier today, I wake up every day feeling like I'm a little thinner. And so I just ordered my second bottle. So, you know, we're going to discuss, like, there's a couple of things, you know, a lot of us are taking the H pill, which gives you more muscle, makes you leaner. Eternity has the same effect, the product that we have with resveratrol in it. And any of the anti-aging products that we're using are basically reverting the clock back on our body. We're biohacking our body to be younger again. So, so yes, we have products that will contribute to this healthy lifestyle of being leaner and meaner, right? And keto is just part of that, being leaner and meaner and getting to be a little bit more of a ninja. So Dr. Kim, I think you told me you were also taking Inner Chi. Could you share with us what you've noticed about that?
Well, I think it's pronounced Inner Chi, but
Well, I might have it wrong.
But you know, I take a lot of stuff, and I just, it's been subtle with me, but I just noticed I just feel better.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more stable. It's hard to explain. I just I know I'm going to order it again and keep taking it because I just sense that it's doing some really good stuff for me. I think I'm getting, like you, getting close to my end of my first bottle. So
Right.
too early to really say. You know, I usually, if I try something new, I let it give it at least 3 to 6 months before. Which brings me to a point where, because I had a patient in yesterday, and they started taking the H pill, and then they stopped taking it. And I said, "Why'd you stop taking it?" They said, "Well, I didn't notice anything." Well, how long were you on it? Well, I took it a week. I run it, you know, it's mainly for decoration, but I keep a hammer in my office. And it's a wooden thing, and I'm going to start using it on people. I'm getting old, I'm getting meaner, right? I'm getting leaner and meaner. Something's got to knock sense. I mean, don't be crazy. If you're going to start something, you know, use it. Dang it. You know, don't think you're going to experience a miracle in 3 days or a week. I mean, I've been taking the H pill for a year now. And some of the benefits I'm just starting to experience. It's one of those things I'll never stop taking.
Yeah.
But you got to realize it. You know, for my case, it took 67 years to get where I'm at. It's not going to undo stuff in 7 days. So I have to get off my soapbox now, because that just drives me nuts. Don't be one of those people.
Yeah, it's frustrating when you know you have help for people and they aren't even open to.
Well, it's our society. I grew up. I don't know if you remember those commercials, Excedrin headache number, 47. You know, the idea being whatever problem you had, you just take a pill and it'll be gone. You know,
right?
And I come from the back of the days of the Polaroid camera, where I had an instant picture in 60 seconds. And people think that translates into nutritional supplements, where you take it and all of a sudden you're all better in a day or so, and that's just not the way it is. You gotta just use a little common sense on this, and do what it takes. If you want to get better, you gotta work at it, and you gotta give it time, because it doesn't change overnight.
Right. And I'm going to wrap this up. Our goal here at Doctor's Call is to provide you with really good health information, or information that you can take and go research on your own and discover what works for you. We do mention some products, and if anyone invited you to the call, please get back with them and they can share with you. This is international products that we're all utilizing and loving very much, with an emphasis on anti-aging and health. I do want to mention that you know, a few years ago when I was growing up, and some of you will remember this, but the perfect figure for a woman's body was what? 36, 24, 36, right? And I mean, all through my childhood, that was the ideal figure or measurement shape for a woman's body. Well, if you think about a 24-inch waistline today, yes, we have a lot of skinny little twiggy girls running around with a 24-inch waistline, but not a full woman running around with a 24-inch waistline. So what happened? Well, part of the information we shared with you today probably contributes to that. I was recently looking at an old beach party movie. I think it was with Frankie Avalon, or it might have been an Elvis. I think it was an old Elvis movie from the 60s. And as I was looking at the figures of the people in the movie, and of course a lot of them were in, you know, bikinis and stuff like that. And I thought, it just hit me that I'm sure they didn't have to go out and, you know, do a big search for people who fit that body style, because pretty much back then everyone was built like that, you know. So you might just take a little walk on the beach side and go check out one of those old movies and see what you think this week. But in the meantime, if you want to do more research on keto lifestyle, I don't call it a diet because it's really what I believe our human nature should have been. We should have been eating this way all along. Or it's called ketosis. You can go on Google, you can put ketosis plus any disease in, and you'll probably get some answers. There's just a ton of information out there. There's a ton of information about what is the diet, what foods are in the diet, not the diet, but the lifestyle. And I mean, it's an abundant supply of information. So wishing you all health and happiness, and hope that you tune in again next Tuesday, when I'm sure Dr. Kurt will be back out of the jungle and will carry on with great information. Thank you for joining. We appreciate your time. Thank you, Dr. Kim.